Welcome to the Sunday Sit Down right here on Next Door Radio. Candidate for Granville County Sheriff, Mr. Robert Fountain, joins us here once again, like he does every single Sunday at 8 p.m. My friend, how are you? A successful event this past weekend. Some great food, the ribs, the jerk chicken. I'm all about it, my friend. But first, how you doing, buddy?
I'm well. Today, I don't know what Facebook. Oh, there it goes. So, thank you. Blessed to be here. Great day yesterday. Very good day yesterday. Thank you to the vendors that came out. A couple guys had a couple issues. One had COVID, one had a funeral thing, and another guy just couldn't make it. Big Rob Street Eats did very well. And Carlos's Caribbean cuisine or something like that, man. So the steaks, the ribs, the chicken, the pulled pork, the leg quarters, the baked potatoes. It was amazing. Thanks to the new ice cream shop. I don't know what's their name.
Old Fashioned.
Old Fashioned. Old Fashioned ice cream parlor came through. Had a great time. I think Swag and Glock, the Granville County Organizing Committee, they came through and did the drinks and beverages. We had a lot of people turn out. Again, the mayor, elected officials came through. We had a good time. It was fun. It was fun. It was a lot of work. Thank you to Unique Floral Designs, Mr. Patel, his hotel, the King's Inn, Bobo's Menswear, Larry Downey and his folks, at Welcome Home Healthcare, of course, Next Door Radio. In your absence, DJ Scotty Brooks did it until you got in. It all worked out, man.
Yeah, it worked out good.
It worked out. Kathy Anna Events, she helped organize with my wife to get everything done. And of course, I got to thank my team, the Committee to Elect Fountain Sheriff. They did a wonderful job. I can't do things without them. And I'm blessed. I'm blessed to have people like yourself and my community folks. We met a lot of new friends. People were sharing their intimate stories about their pain with things that had happened with law enforcement. We were able to listen and not be sympathetic to what had happened, but have some empathy and listen to the suffering that was shared with me from a few people about the things that happened to them with law enforcement in our community, in our county. So that's part of that servant leader, right? Listening to everybody else's problem and their situation so you can meet them where they are. And that's what our law enforcement communities and our elected officials should be doing, listening to their constituents. I've said that word twice and I've never said it before. I normally say our people. And I don't like that word. It seems too much of a system versus being our people. And that's the way, and I told my team, they had me say it a few times, and I said, I'm not going to say it anymore. And they said, just say it to see what you feel. And I don't feel it. I feel our people. And that's what we're going to stick with.
Well, the good thing is that's honesty. I mean, that's, like I said, if you don't believe in something, you're not going to do it, which is, I think it's fantastic. So, again, this is the Sunday Sit Down. Every single Sunday right here on Next Door. And, of course, the Pillars of Criminal Justice. Today we're going to focus on, like you mentioned, a little bit leeway, law enforcement. It has been a big topic for the last, really, months, of course. So let's kind of dive right in.
First, I want to say that we're always praying for the people that serve our communities. We just had another deputy shot and killed a couple days ago. And what people may not realize, and I said something about it the other day, there have been 5 law enforcement officers just in our area shot or killed in the past 3 months. So we have to start understanding the approach that we're going to have to help our communities deal with how law enforcement works. And we got to better train our law enforcement officers. And it's going to be a lot of hurt, a lot of pain as we continue to go through this process. So when you start talking about, like I've told some people, it's not about changing the people at the middle or the bottom, it's about the top. When you change the leadership, it's going to be some pain, growing pain. but we have to train people to be better. We have to work with our communities to be better, and we have to show them that we're worth their trust, and not look at us as being like over policing or trying to be overbearing. And we have to be empathetic. Everybody has a bad day. Everybody does something that they're not proud of. But we have to show empathy in the administration of justice. So, law enforcement, like I said, Wake County deputies and their families and the people that are dealing with the loss, we pray for you. But we need to stop saying that on both sides, right? Too many lives have been lost. Senseless violence by people in the streets. Senseless violence towards law enforcement trying to do their job. And then on the other side of the equation, there are some police officers that do and have done things outside of the line of duty that they're sworn to protect and serve our people. So it's not just one person, it's not just one group of people, so we can't say it's about the police. It's not. It's about a culture, right? So when people lose respect for law enforcement, when people lose respect for their communities, you have issues where violence towards each group is on the increase. So we have to address it. Law enforcement, for the Sunday sit down, where did law enforcement come from? Right? So to understand the opacity and capacity of law enforcement, you have to understand where it started. Law enforcement actually started from the slave patrols, right? That's where law enforcement started. It started from slave patrols to slave catchers. Then it migrated up through policing of migrant immigrants coming into the United States, right? Then you had the metropolitan policing and the broken windows theory, how they supposed to police communities, right? Then you transition over into the get tough on crime and the war on drugs and the 21st century law enforcement and policing. So we have to understand the history before you can understand how you need to change the history. So anybody can say, I've been in law enforcement 20 years or 30 years, but do you have the capacity to understand where it started from and not be representative of some of the things that happened in the past to move forward and do a new future? So in law enforcement, for us, or for me, it's been a broad brush of experiences, and it's been a broad brush of challenges, because every time you are trying to ascend to a new position, you have to be better than everybody else. You have to be more qualified, more competent, more articulate in what you do, and again, have that knowledge base to say that I'm the best qualified person for any position. So, and when I went to the military, to clear up another rumor, the military police training has been sworn and certified and adopted by the North Carolina Department, the North Carolina General Statutes. All right. So the only thing from BLET to the Military Police Academy is a firearms course, civil processing, and pretty much that's it. So a guy gets out of the military that's been a military policeman, he has to do two things: go through 96 hours of training and shoot a pistol, qualified. That's it. So this whole thing of people like military police is not law enforcement, you're wrong. It's a narrative that people speak of to just a false narrative, you know. I'm not going to say they're uninformed. Yeah, they're uninformed. I'm not going to say they're uneducated. They're uninformed because they choose to be uninformed about what the laws really are. So for me, it started when I was in the Military Police Academy. Actually, it started when I left. I was an honor graduate out of Parris Island Boot Camp the United States Marine Corps. And something that stuck with me was I was one of the honor graduates. And the last day, we had this field day thing. And I had to race the senior drill instructor of all our platoons. And I kind of was beating him the whole way until we got to this rope. You have to do like it's like a rope obstacle, and you have to climb to the top. And we got to the top, he told me to stop. I thought he was just telling me to stop because he was trying to catch up.
Yeah.
So he told me to stop. And he came up, and I had my legs, it's a big pillar at the top where the ropes attached to, and you have to go up and you come down. It's like a rope ladder. Mm-hmm. So we get to the top, and he said, I want you to appreciate something right now. And I'm like, what? He said, I want you to look out across Parris Island in the swamps. And he said, this is the place that God created for Marines. And this is where we have to humble ourselves and serve our country. He said, you always do that. And they knew where I was going towards the law enforcement, MOS. He said, you will be okay. Appreciate this country, this Constitution, and you will always be okay. And then he said, go, and we went down the road. So, and we finished this course. But it started when I went to Lackland Air Force Base. Lackland Air Force Base, the Marine Corps, and Air Force have their own police academy. And that's where it is. The security police, pararescue, United States Marine Corps detachment at Parris Island. I mean, in Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio, Texas. I got recruited straight out of basic training. And then the State Bureau of Investigations, Onslow County Sheriff's Office, Camp Lejeune Military Police Company, Havelock, Onslow. It's like a bunch of agencies were looking for somebody to do undercover work in Jacksonville. But it expanded to Wilmington, Havelock, Morehead City, Cherry Point, to where I was working with I don't know what this guy's actual job was. He was out of South Carolina. And he was up and he was undercover. I don't know if he worked for SLED, the South Carolina Law Enforcement, or who he worked for. Never found out. But I just knew he and I were basically planted in the communities in Jacksonville. And we were supposed to build cases against Marines, civilians, Navy personnel, anyone that was committing crimes against that community or just breaking the law. So we did that, and that's when I went to this protective thing where I had to work with the SWAT team, and they supposed to be protecting me while these trials were going on and all this stuff. And I became one of the non-commissioned officers in charge of the SWAT team. So when people say, what have you done? When you start talking about undercover work, you talking about patrolman, you talking about bodyguard. I was a bodyguard for Oliver North. So I'm gonna date myself, right? So the Iran-Contra hearings had happened, and we were tasked. Our SWAT team, our SRT team, was tasked to do the bodyguard work for Colonel Oliver North. He stayed pretty much at Lejeune on the days he didn't have to testify in front of Congress. So the days that he was at Lejeune, we had to do all the protective stuff with him. Then we had to transport him back to D.C., and he had a couple of our guys stay with him in D.C., bring him back. So that's the bodyguard part of, dignitary protection part, where I started learning that. Then I was played football, so I got recruited by the Marine Corps base to play football, and I was a military policeman. And then rose to the ranks. And as I got to, I think I was a sergeant at the time, I was changed billets to combat side of, not the civilian side, I went to the infantry or combat side of military policing. So I was able to go to foreign countries, Reykjavik, Iceland, Norway, Honduras, different places. Strange thing. I went to we had a NATO operations, and we were supposed to be doing some maritime pre-positioning offloads in a foreign country in Honduras, which some Air Force guys that got attacked. So they sent us over there to do some security work. And we were over there like 3 months. Ajas Terra, 1990. We were in the banana fields in Honduras. The maritime pre-positioning ships would offload over there. And me and my team got left. We were left in Honduras for I think it was like almost 4 days, 3 or 4 days.
Gosh.
Yeah, they forgot we were there. The rear guard was, picking us up, but everybody else left. So I got back home and was able to go back to the military, I guess you would say the garrison side of military or policing. And I decided I was going to go leave, get out, because I was going to play college football. Blew my knee out. I still said I would leave. When I got out, nobody was hiring. Basically, Durham wasn't doing any, Durham PD was doing a reservist class, and I decided to go into the Department of Public Safety through the prison system. And did 3 years, and then I was afforded an opportunity to work with the FBI undercover. I was a cooperating witness in Washington, D.C., So I did that. And sometimes when you play those roles, you lose yourself. So when you get to a point that you've been there, you see it, and you see yourself changing, it's time for you to go. Some guys can be undercover, and some of our deputies or detectives can be undercover for too long, and they lose the sense of who they are. So when I started to see myself differently, I was like, okay, it's time to shut this down for me. So I walked away from that, went back into the prison system, and again went through the rank structure, was promoted all the way up to a lieutenant. I had the fastest promotion and demotion in North Carolina public safety's history in the prison system. I was got promoted to lieutenant and was the assistant commander for one of the sections at the women's prison, NCCIW in Raleigh. And I found out within 6 weeks it wasn't for me. So again, when I say people, if they can't do a job or shouldn't be doing something, they should leave. I knew that working at the women's prison was not for me. The discipline and structure was different. So when you break a law in the street, it's simple, it's plain. Man, woman, wife, child, whoever it is, you break the law, it is what it is. The policies don't dictate, the laws don't change. So when the execution of things that I was if you were wrong at the women's prison, I held it to the policies. And when people did not agree with the way that I was doing things, staying straightforward with policies and the disciplinary that I would incur with, infractions that people committed, I stick to the policies. You can give grace, God gives mercy, right? So when that was a conflict for me, I went back, took a demotion, a voluntary demotion to go back to Supermax in Buckner. And I stayed as the use of force investigations, internal investigations sergeant for the Supermax prison. And we only have 2 on the East Coast. One is at Polk, one is in Connecticut. So I stayed there. And then I got promoted again to lieutenant. And then an opportunity came for me to transition to probation and parole, become a probation officer. Well, surveillance officer / probation officer. I left, took that promotion, went to Alamance County. And while I was there, I took over. I became a gang coordinator for all 100 counties. And while I was a gang coordinator for all 100 counties, that's when the DA's father was kidnapped. And I was not working at Polk Correctional. I was working for probation and parole. But then they tapped me to take over all 55 prisons, intelligence units, gang investigations for 55 prisons, and I had the whole 100 counties of our state. And then I became the operations manager for the Department of Public Safety, the Fugitive Extradition Section, where I oversaw budgets, arrested people out of state, transported them, flying while armed, worked with local, state, and federal agencies. And my last trip, I went to California to arrest a guy who killed somebody in Wilson. He had chopped his wife's head off and was cutting her up. His dad walked in, he cut his dad's head almost completely off with an axe and left the daughter in the house for a couple days. And the U.S. Marshals and the FBI, tracked him down. They arrested him. They sent me and my team to go get him. So we went out and picked him up. He was actually thinking about escaping while we were at LAX and at a Burger King. he changed his mind very quickly, I would say. He changed his thought pattern. And we just did that, and then I got into the private security stuff. So the law enforcement career is very broad. And I tell people you have to have the working knowledge, intimate working knowledge of all the facets of law enforcement to be a leader if you're going to be in the whole totality of, the whole operations. I've done had certifications for every discipline of instructions for law enforcement, if you will, except for unarmed self-defense. Didn't like falling down. Wasn't for me. So when they tell you you're going to break fall for like 100, 200 times, I'm like, nah, I'm not doing that.
No, so I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good. So from firearms, unarmed self-defense, firearms, electronic mobilizations, flying while armed, gang stuff, the whole gamut. I had every certification that you could imagine, and I loved it. And then when the deputy came to me one day and said, "We would love for you to be our sheriff," I was like, "Who is this guy?" So I called some people, and they were like, "Yeah, he's legit." So we started this path, and we stayed on it. Even when I lost to Brent, I told people I wasn't going anywhere. We were going to stay committed to the community, and I would challenge Brent Wilkins every step of the way. I told Charlie Noblin the same thing when he was appointed. I went down, I think I was getting a new concealed carry or something, and I spoke to him. I told him the same thing. If you do what you're supposed to, you won't hear from me. I'm going to run, but you won't hear from me. I said, but the time you don't do something for our people, I'm going to come and see you and ask you and challenge you on what you're doing. Because that's the thing. The sheriff works for the people, right? You have to be the leader that works for the communities. So the situation turned out with him, and same thing with John Hardy. I spoke to John Hardy. I think I was a keynote speaker at an event that he was there. I shook his hand, wished him well, and I even told him, I said, "You're the bridge for me." And he said, "What do you mean?" I said, "When I'm elected, I need you to stay around. Because I want people to understand it's not about cleaning out an organization. It's about you change the leader to bring a new structure. There will be people that probably don't want to work for me because I'm not going to tolerate a lot of things that people do. Because if you're held to a higher standard, some people are not used to that. Some people don't want to be held to a standard. They want to keep it the same. So we're not doing that. But if you've not violated the public's trust, and I'll say this over and over again, if you have not violated the public's trust, then you don't have to worry about a position in Granville County Sheriff's Office. Just do your job. That's it. That's all the people want from the sheriff's deputies, to do their jobs. That's it. You know, it's simple.
It's the Sunday Sit Down right here on Next Door Radio every single Sunday, beginning at 8 p.m. with candidate for Granville County Sheriff, Robert Fountain. My friend, appreciate you. Again, what do you got in your mind there?
Somebody asked me a couple things. Not to mention all the connections you have. Oh, so somebody was like, all the connections that I've made. Things that I don't want to keep people on. But yes, I've trained law enforcement agencies all over the country. Not just in North Carolina, right? I tried to stay away from doing things in North Carolina on purpose because I never wanted what I was doing to negatively. I didn't want to go into your house, you live here, and I tell you how to clean your house up. Because at some point I knew I was going to run for the office of sheriff. And I don't want to have any issues to where people aren't receptive to working with you when you're that guy. So I could go to Tennessee, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Colorado, anywhere, Michigan, and I could tell them this is wrong and be just matter of fact. Because there was no direct connection, but then they appreciated the fact that I was transparent and honest with them. Sometimes my wife said, "You're brutally honest. You shouldn't say things that way," to soften it up, you know, coming from her. so I'm trying to listen, and but at the end of the day, we started I'm gonna release some endorsements probably in the next few days. Police chiefs, operations managers, civilians. We got some endorsements from churches, religious organizations, the Institute of Homeland Security, Workforce Development, the director. All those things are starting to be released. So we're going to, again, slowly build the public's trust. You can't give them too much. You give people too much, they're going to just wash over. So when they start to see those things slow drip to them, and they can internalize and appreciate the work and the package that you bring, the portfolio and the resume, they will have a better, appreciation for it, and they can digest it. We're probably gonna, I think I said this last Sunday, at some point I'm gonna release my whole resume. We're gonna put it, I think some of it's on my website, www.fountain4sheriff.com. But we're going to put it out in the newspaper because a lot of people don't look at websites, and our community has 2 newspapers that we do work with. So I'm gonna release the whole thing in its entirety. It's like 7 pages. We're just gonna let the people decide if you're qualified or not. Competent, qualified leadership is what our county needs, and that's what I'm gonna bring to the table. So as far as law enforcement, we've done a lot. And we are gonna train deputies, detention staff, court staff to be the next sheriff of Granville County. I'm going to train the next sheriff of Granville County to be that guy that supervises and takes the legacy of what we're going to do forward. It's not going to be about passing it on to somebody, because I'm going to change the O chart. I'm going to tell this now. The O chart is not going to stay the same. We're too top heavy. You can't be that top heavy and your deputies are running around 3 or 4 people on the road, but you got 11 or 12 people working Monday through Friday, right? So those Monday through Friday guys may want to think, hey, I'm going to go ahead and get back into this thing of getting in the car and be with my people. I need leaders at that agency to work with their staff. Not Monday through Friday. When they work, you should be working with them, because they will appreciate you as a leader by showing your face, lead by example. Yes, we need a command staff, but when I got 11 guys work Monday through Friday and I only got 3 working at night, that's a problem for me. Some people may not like that, but I'm going to be honest. You ask me, I'm going to tell you. And it's not to get rid of people. It's just to change the way we do business. That's it. If it's about the betterment of our community, that's the only thing I really care about. I don't care about hurting nobody's feelings if they don't like the way I say it. I do care, but I ain't going to cuss you out or nothing like that. But I'm just straight with you. I'll listen. I appreciate everybody. Thanks for coming out this past week. We got some more stuff coming up. I got a town hall meeting tomorrow night down in Wilton. We'll be at Wilton Pizzeria from around 5 to 7 or 8 or whatever. Whoever wants to come, ask questions, challenge me on what I say in my record. I will have probably 30 to 50 copies of my resume with me. I will have some of my people going to be there. I just want the residents to come out and ask questions. And after that, we have a couple more events coming up. I think Labor Day weekend we're going to do something. I think the 28th. I'm trying to put something around a thank you for my team on the 28th, so they didn't even know about it. So I'm going to do a little appreciation thing for Next Door Radio and Trey Snide and all the things that you do for our communities. And everybody that helps me along the way, that are close to me. I love them. I appreciate them. And we'll look at you guys next Sunday, same time, same place, right here with Trey Snide, Next Door Radio.
Get a Sunday sit down right here on Next Door Radio. We'll see you later.
Thanks, Trey.